Right, tonight, President William Ruto could find himself in the crosshairs of human rights bodies as his war on criminal gangs in the capital gathers steam. This is because he made comments that border on giving police the power to use excessive force against the criminals. Special service units, including the GSU and the RDU, are set to begin patrols in the capital, with security experts saying that this is not the right way to go about it. We have details of this and much more coming your way, including tonight, President William Ruto takes on gangs terrorizing Nairobi residents.
We cannot allow criminals to overrun our cities or any part of Kenya. We have given you the instruments. You have the backing of the law to make sure that we deal with criminals firmly, decisively, conclusively, in accordance with the law and the Constitution.
The head of state authorizing the use of force on criminals by the dreaded General Service and the rapid deployment units of police. Several people confirmed dead in the Kasarani building collapse at Seasons area.
I want to send my sincere condolences to the families of the bereaved, and just because of that, I just want to second what the governor said. For me, I'll make it my personal vendetta, because now the developer who has been constructing this building has definitely taken 2 lives so far.
With police confirming that 2 died while receiving treatment in Nairobi. Parliament finally obeys court orders and halts the vetting of principal secretary nominees pending the hearing and determination of a case challenging their nomination.
And we are still holding those who are in transition in the same offices when the current regime has already decided to keep them off and replace them.
Within the ministry, they cannot take off if you don't have because they are the accounting officers at the ministry. So it means that there are certain duties that cannot be executed.
All right, TV47 News Tonight begins right now. Very good evening to you and welcome aboard. My name is Kenneth Kazungu. Catherine Simaloi will be handling the sign language interpretation. Now, the race to rescue victims from the collapsed Kasarani building is on, even as the death toll stands at 3 people. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has promised to take action on the rogue developer. Now, this report was filed by Ronnie Reagan.
The case of a building collapsing yesterday at Seasons Kasarani, just 8 days after another building collapsed in Tasia Embakasi, has left many Kenyans questioning the integrity of relevant government offices. It has now emerged that officials from the National Construction Authority had visited the site and halted construction, only for the workers to continue with their work after the officials had left.
Na tuko hapa ili kujua kiini na mwanzo wa nyumba hii. Tumeweza kuelezewa kwamba hii ni nyumba ambayo bado haijapitishwa na county government ya Nairobi kujengwa. Pili, pia National Construction Authority walikuwa hapa jana na wakaisimamisha asubuhi, na hiyo ilikuwa mara ya 10 kuisimamisha, lakini kwa sababu ambayo haieleweki, hata baada ya jumba lenyewe kusimamishwa linaendelea. Na hivyo tunasema that is impunity ambayo iko ya hali juu sana, and as a government we are going to make sure that this kind of affair is not repeated again.
What was to follow, according to witnesses, was a cat-and-mouse game between the officials and the construction workers who did not know what fate awaited them. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja visited the site of the tragedy Wednesday morning and promised to go after the developer in court.
First of all, the developer must be charged in court. In fact, Waziri, we will ask the police, the DCI to find that developer who knows he should not be building a building in this way. The standards of materials are wrong. He did not get any permit from the county. There was an enforcement notice. But because of impunity, decided to go on. He needs to be charged with murder, because that is murder. All of those who know they are going on with such construction, I want to put them on notice. Just pull down those buildings yourselves, or let us come for you.
Engineers from different organizations have come out to strongly condemn the rising cases of substandard buildings collapsing in Nairobi, with no serious measures being taken to avert such disasters.
It's unfortunate that the building that collapsed was under construction. At the time of collapse, it was on floor number 6. It's also good to indicate, or important to indicate at this juncture, that at the time of collapse, there were people who are believed to have been inside and they were trapped.
At least 3 bodies were recovered as rescue operations enters a day 2, although the number of people trapped under the rubble is still unclear. Some locals at the site said around 8 or 9 people were near the building when it came down on Tuesday.
Elsewhere, President William Ruto, while in a meeting with police commanders, has told police officers not to hesitate to use firearms even as the state launched a crackdown on criminals in a bid to deal with the surge of insecurities among major cities across the country. At the same time, a court has granted detectives 14 days to hold 4 suspects linked to the murder of 24-year-old Kigen Githua earlier this month in a robbery that turned fatal. Moige William with details on this story.
Tonight, President William Ruto might find himself in the crosshairs of human rights bodies in the wake of a sustained war against suspected criminals wreaking havoc in the capital and beyond. In the meeting with regional police commanders, the head of state did not hesitate to ask law enforcement officials to use their firearms to stop the criminals.
If any officer is in danger of criminals, they must use their firearms to deal with the criminals.
In the recent times, crime at the capital has been at an all-time high, said to be perpetuated by crude weapon-wielding gangs causing fear and panic among city residents. At the moment, specialized police units are set to begin patrols at the capital to deal with criminals. This is after Cabinet on Tuesday okayed the deployment of the General Service Unit and the Rapid Deployment Unit. The president today issuing a warning shot to the criminals.
We cannot allow criminals to overrun our cities or any part of Kenya.
And moments later, police in Nairobi have arrested 3 suspected muggers near KCA University along Thika Road. The 3, identified as Vincent Derito, Kelvin Maina, and Daniel Mwangi, all aged between 20 and 25 years, were arrested by police who were on patrol around the area. Elsewhere, in a miscellaneous application, Makadara Law Courts granted investigating officers 2 weeks to detain 4 suspects arrested in connection with the murder of Kigen Githua. The 4 were arrested on Tuesday, with the Directorate of Criminal Investigation in a statement that the series of arrests started early Tuesday, where the first suspect was apprehended at a city toilet along River Road, Nairobi. The suspects had been trailed for about 2 weeks as detectives from Starehe consolidated crucial leads before launching the operation at 4 a.m. The deceased Kigen Githua was stabbed in the chest by robbers on a motorcycle and robbed of his phone, among other valuables, before fleeing away. The 24-year-old information technology graduate succumbed to injuries on arrival at hospital along Kiambu Road, where he was rushed by a Good Samaritan. Moige William, TV 47.
Elsewhere, President William Ruto has put a brake on a proposal to make amendments to the Constitution and allow him rule until the age of 75. And as Paul Kirobi now tells us, the president is urging MPs to utilize their time on the floor of the House by passing agenda that will favor their political affiliations, plus, of course, the common mwananchi.
On Tuesday morning, a number of MPs allied to Kenya Kwanza attended a President William Ruto chaired parliamentary group meeting held at State House, the key agenda of the meeting being to set the house in order. Top on the agenda being how the MPs will execute their mandate for the period William Ruto will be serving as the president. The president also delved in the term limits debate, asking legislators to ignore the talk.
I will not participate in mutilating the Constitution for purposes of serving selfish, personal, parochial interests.
Instead, the president urged the Kenya Kwanza legislators to utilize the opportunity on the floor of the House to push the Kenya Kwanza agenda, at the same time serving their constituents as promised.
Don't wait until it's too late. Or you can wake up one morning and it is 5 years and you have not even cleared your throat in Parliament. Bado hujasema anything. So let us, I want to encourage every member of Parliament. The most important aspect of a member of Parliament is to speak on all the issues, legislation, to ensure that there is oversight and to represent your people.
President Ruto's message comes at the backdrop of an intense conversation on the proposal to change the constitution and scrap off the presidential two-term limit, a proposal that attracted backlash from a section of UDA-allied MPs and their counterparts from Azimio la Umoja. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua informed members of parliament that such meetings will often be called to iron out issues of interest on specific times.
The governance model for the Ruto administration will be continuous engagement all the time. At all times, the president will engage you, and as we look at the events ahead, he decided that you come and he engages you and you engage him.
Fafi MP Salah Yacob had proposed a plan to scrap the two-term presidential term limit and cap the age for contesting for the same seat at 75.
Elsewhere, on the day after the High Court of Kenya suspended the vetting process of the principal secretaries by the National Assembly, a section of legislators have slammed the court, saying it is a move to derail delivery of service. The Employment and Labour Relations Court stopped the vetting pending the hearing and determination of a case filed by the Law Society of Kenya. Flora Lemuki reports.
National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has suspended the ongoing vetting of President William Ruto's principal secretary nominees. The vetting of persons nominated to serve as PSs commenced on November 14th in the various departmental committees of the House. In a letter to chairpersons of departmental committees and persons nominated as PSs, Wetangula said the exercise has been suspended until further notice.
Now we were waiting for the PSs to complete that structure of the executive.
This comes a day after the High Court of Kenya stopped the process pending the determination of a case filed by the Law Society of Kenya. Early on, LSK had petitioned the removal of Chief Administrative Secretary's position, citing that it will financially stretch the already crippling economy.
And we are still holding those who are in transition in the same offices when the current regime has already decided to keep them off and replace them.
Within the ministry, they cannot take off if you don't have because they are the accounting officers at the ministry. So it means that there are certain duties that cannot be executed.
The suspension of the exercise has elicited reactions from legislators who termed this as a war against the new administration, claiming that it is a move to delay President William Ruto's timelines to deliver to Kenyans.
Walisimamisha mapema kwa sababu wangegojea maamuzi ya kamiti, wangegojea maamuzi ya parliament.
The LSK says in the petition that the list of 51 PSs presented to Parliament for vetting and approval does not depict the national representation, including the youth, persons with disabilities, the marginalized, and gender balance. Flora Lemuki, TV 47.
Staying on the corridors of Parliament, and Kenya Kwanza has endorsed 5 members who are expected to be subjected to a vote tomorrow to represent Kenya at the East African Legislative Assembly. On the other hand, the Azimio la Umoja coalition is said to have settled on Raila Odinga's daughter Winnie Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka's son Kennedy as their first choices as negotiations go on over their lineup.
Today's Kenya Kwanza parliamentary meeting in State House, Nairobi, settled on their lineup of members who will be voted for tomorrow to represent the country at the East African Legislative Assembly. The Kenya Kwanza lineup includes Hassan Omar, Zipporah Kering, David Ole Sankok, Fred Muteti, and Falhada Deko. The members were settled on after clusters of 3 were grouped to facilitate smooth lobbying in Parliament. This also culminating to vote in State House from each cluster, which settled on the 5.
That woman who's going to be voted to EALA, and of course, as you know, people say mothers, women normally love peace and the cohesion. I urge and pledge with both parties, Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, to vote for me and give me that chance that I can do it.
I am asking my brothers and sisters from the other coalition to consider Zipporah Kering and give me all their votes so that I can fly the flag of Kenya into the East African community, and I won't be let down. I will work to the best interest of all the Kenyans.
But the endorsement of the 5 didn't sit pretty with the section of members of Parliament from Mount Kenya region who accused their colleagues of giving them a raw deal, with mamas within the coalition suggesting that the voting pattern could change tomorrow due to the complaints.
Therefore, there were those who feel that some interests were never captured, and that's why we reason that actually there are some still murmuring. And I still think that if that murmur is not sorted, it also can most likely bring some hitches tomorrow.
The mambo wa chama ya UDA, lakini pia kubalia kwamba kuna demokrasia, na kama kuna demokrasia kuna watu ambao pia wanaenda chaguana na matokeo hayakuwapendeza. Uwezi wazuia wasiongee na wale wengine. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni jukumu yao, hiyo ni nafasi yao, hiyo ni demokrasia. Waongee na watu waone kama kuna jambo lolote ambalo laweza fanyika.
However, the matrix on Azimio Brigade is not so smooth, with coalition said to have agreed to give priority to Azimio party leader Raila Odinga's daughter Winnie Odinga and Wiper party's Kalonzo Musyoka's son Kennedy Musyoka.
I know that many of us have so far pitched or are pushing for Winnie Odinga and Kennedy Musyoka to be at least number 1 and number 2 from our side. But it is not communicated officially. Many of us feel that those 2 we should not compromise on. But the other 2 slots in the Azimio, any other member can win.
The battle within the Jubilee Party for the EALA slot is between the party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, former Kieni lawmaker Kanini Kega, and former Wajir woman representative Fatuma Gedi, the trio unable to lock the grid on who is suitable from the party.
There's a possibility that the votes may favor 1 ODM, 2 Jubilee, and 1 Wiper, 1 ODM, 2 Wiper, 1 Jubilee, 3 ODM, but that would bring some friction in the coalition. I would pray that when it comes to voting, we do it in a way that ODM will get their 2 slots as had been discussed and agreed by our leaders, and then Jubilee gets their 1, and then Wiper gets 1.
Other strong candidates are Mombasa businessman and close ally of Raila Odinga, Suleiman Shabal, and former Shinyalu MP Justus Kizito, either of them expected to take up one of the 4 positions slated for Azimio coalition. After weeks of intense lobbying and discussions, now the D-Day is here with 416 members of parliament expected to pick out of 27 non-suitable members who will represent them in the East African Legislative Assembly. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Pan Biddings, Nairobi.
Liz, thank you. Moving on, and the 4 IEBC commissioners who differed with Chair Wafula Chebukati will now know their fate after Parliament motion to oust them will be forwarded to the head of state. And as Mike Agwongo now tells us, the simple majority number of MPs will be required to move the petition to the President, whom shall, upon receiving it from Parliament, will either suspend the commissioners or appoint a tribunal that will probe them adequately.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC Commissioner's Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera, Francis Wanderi, Justus Nyang'aya and Irene Cherono Masit drew the country's attention when they rejected the presidential election results. The four staged a walk out from the National Tallying Center, Bomas of Kenya, minutes before IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati announced the presidential results. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula confirmed on Tuesday that a Kenya Kwanza affiliated party, the Republican Party, individuals Reverend Dennis Ndwiga Dhombe, Geoffrey Lang'at and War Steve Gary have since filed a petition in Parliament to execute the Commissioner's ouster plan. The four accused the embattled commissioners of allegedly violating the Constitution, gross misconduct and incompetence. The petitioners want the four to be removed from the office in accordance with Article 251 and 88 on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution.
The process is as per the law, but because that's a matter within the purview of JLAC. We shall be able to, number one, write to all those commissioners, give them an opportunity to write, to make their presentation, either in writing or they come and present it themselves. We shall also make sure that we give all the members of public an opportunity to come and bring any other evidence against those commissioners.
According to Article 251 of the Constitution, a member of commission, other than an ex-official member or the holder of an independent office, may be removed from the office only for a serious violation of the Constitution or any other law, including a contravention of Chapter 6. Gross misconduct, whether in the performance of the members or office holders' functions, or otherwise physical or mental incapacity to perform the functions of office, incompetence or bankruptcy. The process of the removal of the commissioner starts the moment the petition has been received by the National Assembly clerk and stamped as received by the Assembly's main records unit. The next step will be for a motion to be mentioned and debated before the National Assembly.
It's very possible to kick them out. It depends on the weight of the petition which is going to be presented before Parliament. And for Parliament to actually be able to push it forward or to give a green light for it to be sent to the President, Parliament must be convinced they must be convinced that indeed there is weighty grounds, or there is indeed enough evidence which is worth sending this to the President to form a tribunal to investigate these people over.
During the determination of the petition, the simple majority number of MPs is required to move the petition to the President. Upon receiving the petition from the Parliament, the President will either suspend the commissioners or appoint a tribunal that will probe them.
We shall afford each and all the commissioners an opportunity to be heard. They can come on they can send a petition, they can send a response, they can come with a lawyer, and they can be able to present. They can make sure that all what they have is presented before the committee before a decision has been made.
The tribunal shall investigate the matter expeditiously, report the facts and make a binding recommendation to the President, who shall act in accordance with the recommendation within 30 days. However, if the commissioners are removed from the office in accordance with the tribunal's recommendations, they will still be entitled to continue to receive 1/2 of the remuneration and benefits of the office while suspended. The President shall thereafter publish a notice of a vacancy in the Gazette within 7 days of suspension. Mike Kagwongo, TV 47, Nairobi.
All right. Let us now look at some disquiet in the ruling Kenya Kwanza Alliance. And tonight, trouble is brewing in the ruling Kenya Kwanza Alliance after a section of coalition's first-time MPs protested against National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, accusing him of high-handedness and arrogance. The protest went and even third terms.
A Kenya Kwanza parliamentary group meeting at State House gave President William Ruto the perfect chance to tame disquiet in the alliance when he prevailed upon his restless first-time MPs, unhappy with the just concluded allocation of leadership slots in the National Assembly and the Senate. The first-time MPs have trained their guns on Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah over his leadership style. The new MPs from the Rift Valley, specifically Bomet and Nandi counties, and another section from the Mount Kenya region, allege Ichung'wah is high-handed and arrogant.
What the President was advising the first-time members of Parliament is to allow and accept to be nurtured. If you don't allow and accept to be nurtured, then we'll have most of the first-time members of Parliament going home as just first-time members of Parliament. That is God. Allow yourself to be nurtured, learn, so that tomorrow when you will be a second-termer, you will be the one who will be given that responsibility now of nurturing the new bonds who will be coming.
Divisions have since emerged, with all the MPs throwing their support behind Ichung'wah's leadership. This ahead of a protest Kamukunji, organized by the dissenting MPs from the Rift Valley on Monday next week. A section of the Rift Valley MPs are also aggrieved by the party leadership failure to cede one of the two slots awarded to the Mount Kenya region in the Parliamentary Service Commission to Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei. Sources say former Governor and Uasin Gishu Senator Jackson Mandago is leading the dissenting camp in the Senate. The clamor for House committees and to avert a fallout, especially in Kenya Kwanza, forced the House leadership to change the standing orders and increase the number of committees to accommodate more MPs while reducing the committee membership.
If any mono, let me use that name, was successfully gotten a space to serve as a chair or a deputy chair, consider himself lucky, because this parliament is one of the parliaments which has brought back over 50% of those members who were in the previous house. That tells you what? It tells you that those old timers could easily sail and take over everything.
In Kenya Kwanza, 155 members wanted to be in the budget committee, which only has 13 slots. Despite being prevailed upon during the State House parliamentary group meeting, a section of the first-time MPs have vowed to push on with their protest, with a Kamukunji meeting slated for Monday next week. Apol Kamau, TV47, Parliament.
Apollo, thank you. Moving on, and days after Kuria Member of Parliament Marwa Kiatama proposed a bill seeking to amend Article 98 of the Constitution and add 5 more counties in the country, the move has attracted other suggestions from other leaders who now want their respective communities and constituents given their own counties.
In what can be seen as an adoption of a Me Too movement, leaders from various parts of the country have come out to support proposals for new counties that should be carved out of the existing 47 counties. Leaders from Garissa County, led by Ijara Member of Parliament Abdi Ali Abdi and ODM-nominated Member of Parliament Umi Harun, now want Ijara to be a county of its own, saying that it has enough resources to run as a county. Opinion leaders and professionals from the Kuria community have also come out to back the proposal by their MP, terming it as a solution to alleged constant discrimination by the Migori County government, as well as an opportunity for them to manage their own resources.
The creation of the current 47 counties was not based on any scientific findings or data, but mere political machinations laced with tribal compromise.
Sisi wa mama tumeangalia sana, tukiona kilimo ambacho tunayofanya kutoka Timaru huko juu mpaka hapa Kianja, tukienda Kuria nzima, unapata kwamba kilimo kimefanywa kweli na imetendeka. Sisi wenyewe tu ndio tunalisha Migori. Kwa nini hiyo sesa ambayo inakatwa sisi tusipewe hapa hivi ili tuweze kujenga Kuria yetu? Tungekuwa na kaunti yetu, tungekuwa mbali kabisa.
Meanwhile, in Kisii County, Bomachoge Chache legislator Alpha Miruka has also suggested the formation of Gucha County, carved from the existing Kisii County. The proposal by Kuria Member of Parliament Marwa Kiatama has already been supported by 50 legislators, making it eligible for a debate in Parliament, where it will have to sail through by having the support of 2/3 of members before it is moved to the Senate for concurrence. Once it is passed by both houses, the bill will also be sent to assemblies to receive a nod of at least 24 counties before it is then passed on to voters through a referendum. Sylvia Nyongesa, TV 47.
At this particular point in time, let us take a very short break right here on TV 47 News Tonight. We'll be coming back with many more stories on the other side. You want to stick around for that.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Brand new entertainment on the go this November. It's a go for heritage as we explore the wonders of our extraordinary continent.
This is their home.
Dad, this is the real home.
It's a go for adventure as a delivery boy embarks on a legendary quest.
The Dragon Blade?
And it's a go for drama as a newly drafted NFL player fights for fame and respect.
You're still trying to make the league, huh? It's the only dream I have.
Get the latest and greatest with GOtv.
Soft living. You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. As the country continues to record a surge in insecurity incidents witnessed in different counties, there are fears that some innocent Kenyans, especially border riders, could be targeted, arrested or even murdered without committing any offense. And as Elizabeth Atieno now tells us, a family in Thika is demanding justice after their 22-year-old relative was allegedly shot dead by police officers on Tuesday night.
A section of residents from Thika town gathered in this particular area in deep thoughts after the mysterious death of 22-year-old George Kimani, who was allegedly shot by police officers while on his way home on Tuesday night. The late Kimani, who was in the company of two other individuals on a motorbike, were allegedly on their way home from work when they were ambushed by police officers who wanted to arrest them.
Tulikuja hapa kit 6 to 7 ndio tulikuwa kwa hii area, hata 7 hiko imefika. Tukakaa wakakuja kuwa amenibemba, hiyo ndizi ilikuwa yangu. Jamaa kule alikuwa ametubemba, akaniweka pale, akakuja hapa mbele. Sasa wakanigojea tu hapa mbele niongee na hiyo madam tulikuwa na yeye. Then nikuje hivi. Sasa emergency askari wakakuja bio na hiyo Land Rover wakampata hapo. Wakati walimpata alijaribu kujisaidia venye atatoroka, lakini mwenye alikuwa ngani alianguka chini. Wakati alijaribu kutoroka wakamfyatua risasi hapa. Hakuweza kutoroka, alianguka na pikipiki. Akamgonga hizo risasi.
One of the two other occupants was arrested as the other one escaped arrest.
Sasa hapo nikaanza kuchukua simu, nikaanza kutafuta credit kupigia watu wenye watanisaidia. Sasa kupigia sasa ndio nipiga simu nyumbani, nikaambia aunti na yeye aunti akaambia mama na akaambia mama yao Blue George. Alikuwa ameagusa pikipiki. Sasa alikuwa ameachana na pikipiki, anakuja kusaidia yenye askari wako. Sasa hiyo process wakati anakuja pale askari wako ndio walimsutu akamwangusha. Na walikuwa na uwezo wa kumsika juu walikuwa tu karibu. Hakuwa amefikisha mita 3 ama mita 5. Walikuwa karibu kumsika, lakini baada ya kumsika walimpiga tu risasi.
Nilipiga simu huko town, niliambia kuwa kijana yangu amepigwa risasi. Na wakati nilisikia hivyo, nikatuma msichana wangu ambaye anaishi huko kwenda kuconfirm. Waliambiwa kwamba huyo kijana mmoja ameshikwa, lakini huyo mwingine amefanya nini? Amefanya kutoroka, lakini amepigwa risasi. Afterwards ndio wanasema kwamba ati kijana wako aliambiwa simama alafu akatoroka.
The incident was Thika Deputy Commander who now states that they were able to collect weapons and cell phones from the suspect.
Walikuwa wameimba simu 4. Mmoja alikuwa kuja pia kukata askari. Tukaweza pia kukabiliana nao vilivyo. Mmoja ako hospitali, mmoja ule alikuwa na pikipiki aliweza kutoroka, na mmoja pia hakuweza kufika hospitali akawa ameaga njiani.
Where should we go? So mtu akisimama shwali hapa unaambiwa wewe ni mwizi. Mimi nikipata huyu inspector, I just need justice for my brother because it's so painful to lose a brother.
Sasa nataka haki itendeke kwa huyo mtoto wangu kwa sababu alipigwa risasi bila hatia.
A section of border operators in Thika Town have since condemned the attack, saying they are wrongfully and unfairly arrested and then murdered.
Hii jambo ambalo watu wa pikipiki imesemekana ya kwamba akipatikana mahali anaonekana kana kwamba ni mwizi. Tafadhali mimi naambia hawa askari wakuwe makini sana na wafanye kazi kulingana na ile train ambao wametrainiwa.
This incident comes just a day after Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki promised that the government will ruthlessly deal with Kenyans posing a serious threat to national security. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Moving on, the bodies of Paris Wanjiku and her 13-year-old son have finally been buried in Kiendai village, Kirinyaga County. The two were allegedly mysteriously killed by Jeremiah Muriuki, a 42-year-old man who was the alleged husband to Wanjiku and later committed suicide after killing the two on the 3rd of November this year. Now, this story was produced by Andrew Juma.
Grief engulfed Kiendai village in Dear, Kirinyaga County as 3 members of one family were being buried. The victims, Paris Wanjiku and her 13-year-old son, who was in class 7 at Kiendagai Primary School, were allegedly killed on the same day by her husband Jeremiah Muriuki, a 42-year-old man who later died by suicide on 3rd November 2022. Tears flowed as the caskets carrying the remains of the victims were lowered to their graves at Kiendai village as residents condemned the fatal attack.
Wanaume tafadhali, wacheni kuua watoto. Kama ni mapenzi mungepeleka. Naye kina mama, tukienda kwa kanisa, tuamini hata Bwana akienda, usiende kulipisa kisasi ati ametembea. Hata wakati yetu, hata wakati wa mama yetu, kulikuwa maneno kama hiyo. Kwa hivyo, wale ambao nitaambia mama wadogo, kama Bwana ametembea wachana na yeye. Naye Bwana ukienda, kuna wanaume wanaoa mabibi hata 20. Wacha kwenda kwa Bwana, kwa bibi ya mtu, tafuta wanawake wale ambao hawana mabwana.
The burial service was conducted at ACK Kiendagai Church by Reverend Michael Githinji, who emphasized on families understanding each other in marriage.
Pengine ni kutokuwa waaminifu katika mboma. Unajua mtu anako na mke na bado ako na mpango wa kando mahali pale na pale.
According to relatives, before Muriuki allegedly killed members of his family and then died by suicide, he had earlier been involved in an extramarital affair with his neighbor's wife. Reverend Githinji urged the government to ensure that there are counseling centers in Kirinyaga to avoid domestic violence cases. The body of Muriuki was found dangling from a tree on 3rd November 2022 at a neighbor's farm, while those of his wife and son, Jackson Kinywa, were found in their house lying in a pool of blood.
Na kama watu wamekosa kusikizana, ni vyema mtu aende kivyake, aachie mwingine na uhai wake. Kwa sababu ni muhimu, uhai ni muhimu sana.
Police recovered an axe that is suspected to be the murder weapon that Muriuki allegedly used to kill his family.
To the counties now where chiefs in Narok are now being accused of excessive drinking, with the government sending a strong warning to them. And of course, and in Muranga County, the Water and Sanitation Authority in that particular county continues to count losses over theft and vandalism of its equipment. Collins Lusweti looks at the stories from the counties and being informed that this story continues to be prepared. And we'll be going into a short break right now. We'll be back with more stories. You want to stick around for that.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Hour-long car rides, crossing county borders, withstanding harsh weather conditions, all because of you, as we bring you different farming tips and experiences.
Normally the farmers have the normal growing products that is
every Sunday at 6:30 p.m.
Authentic, natural, planned. Transforming. Endless benefits. Slaty, purely Kenyan. Buy now on Jumia or Amazon.
TV47, the home of untold stories.
For staying with TV47 News Tonight. Now, the public participation drive on the Hustlers Funds continues to take shape across the country, with the team touring the coastal region today in Mombasa County. Now, Muslim religious leaders have proposed that the government considers their religious views that prohibit loans with interest when disbursing the funds. Paul Munir with more.
Kenya Kwanza Hustler Funds Plan has today conducted a public participation in Mombasa County, where the general public presented their views over the project set to be launched next month. The government is focused to make reforms in financial lending and benefit the low-income wananchi, who will now be able to borrow between 550,000 Kenyan shillings to boost their economic activities.
Maoni yetu ambayo tumeleta leo yatiliwe mkazo. Nasikitika kusema ya kuwa kumekuwa na pesa za Women Enterprise Fund, kumekuwa na pesa ya Youth Fund, lakini ukija mashinani watu bado maskini. Je, kutakuwa na tofauti gani na hii Hustler Fund? Lazima waanze kisawa, wahakikishe ya kuwa pia wametuambia hustler ni nani.
Tukishapata kujua hayo, tutakwenda mbele na kujua kwamba ni mikakati gani itatumiwa kuhakikisha kwamba wale mahasla wamepata access. Watapata access kwenda kama kibinafsi ama watapata access watakwenda kama vikundi.
At the same time, Muslim religious leaders have persuaded the government to consider the Muslim community in the theory of loan interest, citing that their religious beliefs do not allow them to pay loan interest.
Waislamu wapewe loan kupitia Islamic models, na wasomi tunao ambao wanajua mambo ya banking ya katika Uislamu. Kwa hivyo hatutaki tuachwe nje kwa hoja ya interest.
A state of commotion, however, rose among the invited public who had come all the way from Tana River County to table their views on the funds. The group complained of neglect as they were left stranded without accommodation fee nor fare.
Tumekodisha magari za wenyewe. We are stranded. Where is the hustler? Ambaye na sisi ndio tumpigia kiti. Nataka haone ya kwamba vile tumeanza kuteseka na hustler fund na bado haijakuwa established.
Ile chakula tumepewa kweli nafikiri ndio hiyo inaitwa hustler. Maana haswa tumbo la njaa. Na sijui mimi nitarudi vipi. Kuulizana wenye wamefacilitate program wameniambia mimi shauri yangu ni voluntary.
As this was happening, President William Ruto, during a meeting with UDA parliamentarians in State House in Nairobi, mentioned that the funds will be made available through partnering with communication service providers to ensure no one is left behind.
I know many of you may ask what happens to ordinary people and the others. I want to tell you, Mama Mboga is ahead of us. Mama Mboga already operate hapo kwa M-Pesa.
Paul Monio, TV 47, Mombasa.
Sorry.
Right, from Mombasa County, we want to come back to the capital and discuss an issue that continues to elicit mixed reactions, and that has everything to do with the fuel prices. And on Monday, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, or EPRA, released the pump price review for the November 15th to December 14th period, which showed that the prices of petrol, diesel and kerosene had reduced by a shilling. But how did EPRA come up with the prices? And these prices, are they likely to come down any soon? To help me unpack this, I'm joined by Irene Kimathi, who is the chair of the Mount Kenya East Petroleum Dealers. Karibu sana, Irene, and thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
First things first, Irene, very many Kenyans are asking this question, and they're asking, they don't really understand how EPRA comes up with these prices, these pump prices. And they're asking, who really is to blame for this pain that they're feeling at the pump?
Thank you. Okay, there are so many factors that influence the pricing of fuel products. Mm-hmm. One is the international prices. And now that we have the war in Ukraine, it has really affected the international prices. The problem of prices is not only in Kenya, it's all over the world. Other factors that they check are the prices in the neighboring countries, because like the time we had subsidies, the first time we had subsidies, you remember there was a lot of demand for fuel. People from Uganda, from Tanzania would come and get fuel from our country, and that's why we had shortages. So they have really to be able to balance with the neighboring countries. And the other thing is the taxes and levies that we really have to pay on our fuel. And these are levies that are gazetted, that they put every time that they are calculating. And you know, when they are calculating, they will calculate the landing cost of the fuel, which we import because we don't have any fuel that comes from Kenya. We import all our fuel from outside. They will calculate the landing cost, they will put the excise duties and the levies, and then they will give provision for losses on transit, by every other loss on the way, and all the overheads, and then they will give the cost. And then from there, they give the cost for the retailer, whereby they take the cost of the cost of all those things, the landing cost, the levies, the taxes, the losses on transit. They calculate, put a margin for the wholesaler, then they put a margin for the retailer, and that's how we get the price on the pump.
All right, we'll be looking at all those factors that comprise the prices of fuel. But before we get to the next question, I want us to get the new pump prices and what we have now, what we'll be paying now after EPRA reduced that particular prices by a shilling. And the reason why I want to bring this up, I read, is because in the same statement by EPRA, they said that the landed cost, the crude fuel, that of course which is a very critical component in these prices, has reduced. According to EPRA, the landed cost for petrol reduced by 5.6%, diesel by 2.33% and kerosene by about 9%. Now the question would be, Irene, why aren't we feeling this reduction in the pump price?
The government and especially now talking about EPRA, who is the regulator, has a task of making sure that we get fuel in an affordable price. But then now, when you look at diesel, it's a major mover of the economy. We use our trucks using diesel, our factories use diesel. Diesel practically dictates the cost of production of in our economy. And therefore, the international prices of diesel have gone up. The international prices of super have gone down. What EPRA has done is that they have tried to harmonize by removing some money from super, causing the people that are buying petrol to buy at a higher price than they would have bought if they would have calculated the way they usually calculate. And then now they subsidize the diesel and reduced 18.79 shilling so that the diesel buyer shall buy it at a lower price. And I think the thinking behind it is that the users of super petrol are the ones that just want to move from point A to point B, as much as it affects the economy, not as much as diesel would affect.
All right, you're talking about the cross-subsidization that was in that particular statement by EPRA. And now I want us to look at what comprises fuel prices. And I want to believe my director has that infographic right now up on the screen. What really comes, when we get to, of course, the prices, the pump prices, we have very many issues that come to play there. We have, of course, the landed cost, and in some instances, you can see that, in fact, the pump price is even actually more than the landed cost of this fuel. We have, after that, we have, of course, that which has the overheads, as you're saying, and everything that comes to play towards that. And I want to ask you, are all this particular breakdown in fuel prices, is it really warranted? Why are we paying for fuel at the pump more than actually the cost price of this crucial commodity?
One thing is that the government needs money, and fuel is the easiest place to get this money. And we would really pray that the government would stop over-relying on getting money from the fuel sector, because it is causing it to be squeezed day after day. When the government needs money, they increase the taxes, they increase the levies, because it's fast-moving money. Every day we are turning millions of liters that Kenyans buy. And therefore, and also other things apart from the taxes and the levies that are too many, also the pricing of the spillages and the losses on transit should be checked on very well, because if you give so much allowance, it means that the cost goes up. And also there's also the cost of the vessels at the sea. When they come and they stay for, we call it hemorrhage, I will not remember that name. But when they are at the sea waiting for offloading, if it stays for long, there is also a cost there. So there are so many costs. It's about efficiency. If we can improve our efficiency on the distribution chain of fuel, then we would really reduce our costs, and we would be able to buy at a cheaper price.
And of course, speaking, of course, of issues to do with the subsidy, which you had raised earlier, and we understand now that the petrol subsidy was scrapped off. We still have the subsidy on diesel and kerosene, of course, minus that cross-subsidization that EPRA is speaking about there. But if we can get the third infographic here on the levies and the taxes that we pay as Kenyans in order for us to be able to get this fuel. We have, among other things, the Petroleum Development Levy, the Petroleum Petroleum Levy, which of course is supposed to be the one that takes care of the subsidy on petrol. And we are not having a subsidy on petrol. Why is it that? Why are we seeing EPRA charging Kenyans the Petroleum Development Levy while the petroleum subsidy was scrapped off?
Now, this whole issue of subsidy, if it is not managed well, can be misused. And this cross-subsidy is bringing a lot of problem to the traders, because you're told, if you brought this amount of liters of super petrol and this amount of diesel, then you balance it by yourself. Now, if you have brought more diesel than super, then you're not able to balance. And being this, our industry being high turnover, it means that your working capital is held as you try to bring to balance, which is not possible. It does not bring any business sense to balance these things. Now, this subsidy of 18.79 shillings, and then you have to balance with 9.94 shillings from super. This thing will bring a lot of trouble in the market. And even today now, you have started experiencing some shortages of diesel, because the traders are feeling like they don't want to bring this diesel. It is holding their money. And every time subsidy is introduced, it brings something that we call market distortion. And this market distortion will eventually trickle down to the consumer.
So Irene, I remember some time last year we had a very serious fuel shortage in our country, and oil marketing companies and dealers were on the receiving end on this one. And from what you're saying that when we continue with this cross-subsidization, it's going to be a problem, especially with the diesel. So what are you saying? Are you trying to say that we should expect another fuel shortage any time from now if this cross-subsidization continues?
If it is not managed well, we can as well prepare ourselves to have shortage on diesel. Because, you know, the people that bring in fuel, they are not sponsored by the government. This is money, this is business. You want to make profits out of it. So if you bring your money that is being held every time and you're not making direct profits from it, definitely you cut on what you bring in, and this one will trickle down to what we supply to our consumers.
Okay, so I'm being informed that we really have to wind up. But in 30 seconds, please, Director, don't kill me for this. What needs to be done so that we don't find ourselves in another fuel shortage in the days to come?
I think the fuel industry should be taken with the importance that it has in running the economy of this country. And when policies are being made, let them be made from a very informed point of view, and knowing that any hiccup in this system of supplying fuel to our country will always bring troubles on the cost of living of Kenyans.
All right, Irene Kimathi, who is the chair of the Mount Kenya East Petroleum Dealers, thank you very much for your time tonight. We don't take it for granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us go back to the counties where chiefs in Narok County are now being accused of excessive drinking, with the government sending a strong warning to them. And in Murang'a County, the water and sanitation company in the county continues to count losses over theft and vandalism of its equipment. Collins Lusweti looks at the stories that made headlines from the counties.
Chiefs in Narok County have been warned against consuming excessive alcoholic drinks. County Commissioner Isaac Masinde says he has received reports that a number of chiefs in the area have been indulging in illicit alcohol, making them unable to perform their duties effectively. He warned that the government will not hesitate to sack the officers. The area has seen an upsurge of unlicensed clubs as well as illicit brews.
I have noted kuna baadhi yetu wachache ambao wanakunywa pombe kabisa. Asubuhi mtu bado ananuka pombe. Sometimes hata mkutana huko hawezi kujitokeza, unaambiwa na raia ndio ni chief yako. Because atajua hata mdomo inanuka pombe.
Also in Embu County, national government administrative officers in Nambura Division have destroyed and burned several structures in Karingari Market that have allegedly been used to hide drugs and stolen goods. Led by Nambura Assistant County Commissioner Abubakar Noor, the officers revealed that they have been receiving complaints on drug trafficking and theft cases, with the crackdown expected to extend to other markets in the area.
Tulipata malalamishi mingi sana kwa wananchi wetu wa hapa wakisema ya kwamba kuna watu wanauza bangi katika hizi vibanda, wanazitumia hizi vibanda kama pia mahali ya kuweka vitu ya wizi, na ndio maana tumejitolea ofisi ya Assistant County Commissioner Nambure pamoja na chiefs wa Gaturi South, all of them are with me here. Tukasema tubomoe na tukaweza kuzibomoa na tukazichoma.
And elsewhere, members of parliament from Makueni County are now warning that students from humble backgrounds in the region may fail to continue with their studies if constituency development funds are not disbursed. Led by Kaiti Member of Parliament Joshua Kimilu, the legislators say thousands of children have benefited from the funds.
Jaribu kuzunguka katika eneo langu la Kaiti na kuna jambo moja nimetambua. Tukiendelea vile tunaendelea, watoto wengi January hawatarudi mashule. Kama saa hii watu wale wali apply bursary mwezi wa 6 walikuwa 20,000 wale ambao wanategemea bursaries. Saa hii tunaongea kuna wale ambao hata hii muhula hawakurudi shule kwa sababu ya ukosefu ya fedha.
Meanwhile, Murang'a Water and Sanitation Company Muasco is now counting losses amounting to millions of shillings following vandalism and theft of pipes and other water supply equipment. The manager of the company, Daniel Munganga, says theft has increased in the last 2 months, disrupting water supply in most parts in the area.
For the last 2.5 months, we have lost meters and fittings for the water, electrification, which I would estimate would cost more than 1 million shillings.
In Meru County, Alliance Organization has initiated a program that aims at raising awareness on non-communicable diseases. The organization that aims at fighting the diseases is targeting diabetes and high blood pressure patients with information on how to manage the diseases. The organization says Meru County and Mount Kenya at large has recorded the highest number of cases of non-communicable diseases in the country.
One of the key things about non-communicable diseases, these are lifelong conditions. If you have diabetes, you'll have diabetes for life. So essentially, you need to learn how to manage your condition. Yes, you will need to go to the hospital on a regular basis to collect your medicines, to be reviewed by the healthcare provider, but you also need to learn how you can manage.
Of course, and that is TV47 News tonight on this 16th day of November, the year